The reason she didn't waver was she was surrendered. It's like, whatever God wants for my life, I'm open. In other words, the highest good. And that's when I saw how surrender was the most powerful thing that we can do, that surrender is the secret to true manifestation, that surrender is the real password to freedom.
Hi everyone, this is Katana Abbott, and I want to welcome you to Smart Women Talk. Do you ever feel like you have the weight of the world on your shoulders and it's your job to figure out how to navigate any crisis that comes up in your life? Wouldn't it be nice to find a way to allow our lives to flow with a lot more ease and joy? Today, I've invited a special guest who will share with us how to access your inner freedom, authenticity, and purpose. Let me introduce you to Kute Blackson, transformational speaker and best-selling author of You Are the One and the Magic of Surrender. Welcome, Kute, to Smart Women Talk. I am so excited to have you here today. I've been looking forward to this.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate the warm welcome.
Absolutely. So your second book is The Magic of Surrender, Finding the Courage to Let Go. Can you tell us a little bit of what inspired you to write a second book?
Yeah. When my first book was a bestseller, I sat down one day and I thought, I just felt a second book coming through. I didn't know what it was. I had all of to be honest, The Magic of Surrender was not the book I wanted to write. It was not the book I chose to write. I feel as though the book chose me. I tried to write every other book other than The Magic of Surrender. I sat down and I was brainstorming with my editor, like literally on a whiteboard, probably 75 different topics and ideas, books that I thought the publisher would want, books that I thought the world wanted, books that I thought my clients would resonate with, books that I thought would get me on the bestsellers list, all of these incredible concepts and ideas that maybe one day I'll write. But the truth is, none of those felt authentic for me. None of those felt true for me. None of those felt real for me. When I looked at this whiteboard, the only word that felt truly real and authentic, where I felt a resonance, I felt a pull, I felt an alignment, was the word surrender. And I thought, oh my God, that's the book. I felt as though the book had a soul of its own, and this was the book that was seeking to be written. And in that moment, I had to surrender to the book about surrender. There was the book I thought I should write, and there was the book that was actually seeking to be written. And so when I went through my own initial process of saying, yes, this is what is seeking to be written, I started to reflect on my life. And everything about my life began to make sense. My childhood, my upbringing, my parents, everything that I'd gone through. And I just started to understand everything. And then I look back over the last few years and it just felt as though everything was in alignment. Basically, right before writing this book, a couple of years before, my mother passed away. My mother was diagnosed with stomach cancer, and it was intense. It was challenging. It was brutal when you lose someone that you love. And to the end of 2016, I was living in Los Angeles. I started to fly back and forth every month for a week to London to be with my mother, to take care of my mother. I'd fly there, take care of her, fly back, travel around the world, inspire, motivate, do my events, come back. And this was my life for an entire year. And I was very blessed because I got to be with my mother for this year. But initially, I had every intention to heal her, to get her well. I thought I knew how she should be living her life to turn this sort of diagnosis into remission. And what I soon realized was my mother had her own path. She had her own journey. She wasn't really cooperating, and she was happy just living her life. And so about 7 months into the process, the doctors finally said to us, listen, there's nothing else that we can do. In a nutshell, you're going to die. It's a challenging conversation to have. My heart broke because for me, my mother was the person that I loved the most. And I'll never forget, because I think this is when the seeds of the book were being planted by the universe. In that moment, I looked my mother in the eyes, this little Japanese woman. And I said to my mother, I asked her two questions. Number one, are you afraid? And my mother said, no, I'm not afraid, because I know I'm not. This body is just a temporary vehicle for my soul. This body will die, but what I am as a soul, as a spirit, as energy is eternal. And so she had such a peace and a freedom. And then I asked my mother, this little Japanese woman, I asked her, is there anything that I can do for you? Because I felt like I had not been a great son, even though she would say I was an amazing son. I loved her. I did my best. I was just living my life thinking I had time. I think the only regret that I had in my life was not spending more time with my mother. And in that moment, I said to her, what can I do for you? Where do you want to go? What do you need? Where should we travel? What can I buy you? Just tell me what you want and I'll get it. And she looked me in the eyes and she said, there's nothing that I need and there's nothing that I want. The only thing that I need and the only thing that I want is what God wants for my life. And in that moment, I realized that this woman who was my mother was completely and totally and utterly surrendered to the highest good.
Mm.
She wasn't attached. She wasn't attached to living. And she wasn't attached to dying. It's not like she wanted to die, but she had totally surrendered herself to the highest, shall we say, journey, evolution, unfolding of her soul's destiny. It's like, whatever God wants, I'm open to the highest good. And that's when I saw, not just in a yoga class, not just in a ashram, not just when everything goes right, not just in a temple or a church, but in the most raw, real human moment of someone facing their death and mortality when everything was falling apart. The power of surrender. She was completely at peace, just present in the moment. This entire year, she didn't complain, never once felt like a victim. I spent an entire year with her. It was the best year of my entire life. And I just got to be with her. And she was just at peace. That's when I saw the power of surrender. That's when I really got clear as the book was being clarified. Oh, surrender is the most powerful thing that we can do. Surrender is
And
the
I've got
real.
goosebumps listening to you
It's
because
the real.
this really came from such a personal experience with the
I
person you
saw.
loved.
I saw it with my mother every day as her hair fell out, as she was being shot up with chemotherapy, as the doctors were about to do operations on her and said, okay, we're going to do an operation. Maybe we'll save you. We can't do an operation. And just week after week, her body getting weaker. The reason she didn't waver was she was surrendered. It was like, I'm surrendered. Like whatever God wants for my life, I'm open. In other words, the highest good. And that's when I saw how surrender was the most powerful thing that we can do, that surrender is the secret to true manifestation, that surrender is the real password to freedom. The challenge is, I think in our culture today, we have this misconception that surrender is weak, that surrender is giving up, that surrender is waving the white flag, that if you surrender, you won't manifest your goals, your dreams, desires. You're going to be a doormat taken advantage of. And what I realized was, no, if you truly surrender, what if you didn't get less in life, but you got more than you could have imagined, more than you could have made up with your own logic and conscious human capacity to see and envision your life? What if you got more? Maybe it wasn't what you thought, but maybe better. And I think if all of us, if we really looked at the best things in our lives that happen, the best, if we're honest, the best things for me, meeting my wife, having a son, all of moving to Houston, so many amazing things I could share with you, big and small. Most of it I didn't plan. Most of the best things in your life. Oh, no one really said, okay, I'm going to go to the coffee shop at 4 p.m. on July the 3rd and meet my husband. It doesn't happen that way. It just unfolds in the process of living life. And to me, that's the magic. And so we all want more magic in life. Magic being abundance, joy, synchronicity, the miraculous. We all want more magic. But none of us want to surrender. And so for me, I really saw that the formula, so to speak, the key to magic and beauty and flow and grace and ease was the degree to which you surrender determines the degree of magic and possibilities and miracles you experience in your life. And so when I looked at the truly great ones, starting with my mother, who I didn't realize how great she was because she's just my mom. She's just my mom. She cries and she's human, but the way she lived her life. My mother met my father from Ghana, West Africa. That's a whole nother story. But in a nutshell, she married my father without ever having seen him, spoken to him, or met him, unable to speak English, never having met a foreigner in her entire life, growing up in Japan, agreed to marry him because she was guided. And that's when I really understood, wow, she has been living and demonstrating surrender just in how she's lived her life, sit from the moment I was born and before I was born. And so that's what really inspired me to write this book. And I feel when I look at the great ones, a Jesus, a Buddha, a Gandhi, a Mother Teresa, a Mandela, a Martin Luther King, Bruce Lee, Muhammad Ali, childhood heroes of mine, in their own way, shape, and form, they all surrendered themselves. Whether they were conscious of that's what they were doing or not, they all surrendered themselves to life, to a vision and a mission that was bigger than their own selves. Maybe Gandhi had this idea of already being a successful lawyer and fame and fortune and a comfortable life, yet something bigger was calling him. And so surrender it is a letting go, shall we say, of control. Or I should say, the illusion that we are even in control in the first place. We think we're in control, but really, are we in control? Pandemic hits, life hits, stock market hits. How much control are we really in? And so surrender is the sort of letting go of control, or letting go of the illusion of control. It's a letting go of who we think we should be, how we think life should look, the life we think we should be living, so that we can be truly open to who we truly are, to what is seeking to happen. And so for me, yeah, surrender is powerful. Surrender is something that I feel we all, as human beings, whether you're black, white, green, orange, Jewish, man, woman, gay, straight, doesn't matter. It's the process of life and being human.
So is the opposite of surrender control? Because when I opened this, I said, we're all running around trying to control everything, deal with these crises. And I told you before the show, this idea of surrender, and I did it accidentally, but I went from trying to control everything in my life in my meditation to just saying, align me with my highest good. And I released trying to control these things. And then I swear, this is my testimony to you, that all these miracles started happening.
Yes.
And life became so much easier and more joyful. And I had so much more peace. So that's a testimony to this idea, but I didn't even realize how powerful it was.
Yeah, as human beings, control is the master addiction. And we are constantly trying to control everything. And there's no reason to be mad at ourselves or judge ourselves. It's the ego that tries to control. The ego is that which we mistakenly have identified ourselves to be, based on name, body, form, beliefs, identity of this is who I am. And the ego was formed at a very young age. And the job of the ego is to protect you from getting hurt, to make sure that you don't get hurt again like you were hurt when mom wasn't around, and when dad and mom were fighting, and when there was abuse in the household, or alcoholism, whatever it was. And so because there was elements of pain or emotional needs weren't met, the ego kicks in. We develop all sorts of defense mechanisms. We erect walls around our heart and develop all sorts of defense mechanisms to avoid pain and protect ourselves from feeling the pain, because it was too painful to feel like my needs aren't being met. It was too painful to feel mom and dad fighting and being 2 years old and feeling helpless, because that feels out of control. And in so many ways, because we felt helpless not having our needs met, we felt helpless because there's so much chaos in life, in childhood, we developed all sorts of strategies to try to control everything. And as a result, it worked for us when we were 2 and 5 and 7 in not being overwhelmed with our environment and the pain, and learning how to navigate and manage the craziness or the complexity of life and childhood. And it worked for us at that moment, but it limits us. And so so we end up mistakenly feeling that if I can control my life, then I won't get hurt. So even the strategy of control is a well-intended intention to try to keep us safe. When we can realize that the reason we're controlling is not because we're bad or something's wrong, it's just survival. And we can start maybe having some compassion and love for the part of us that is trying to control everything. Because if I can control everything, if I can control how you see me, if I can control the weather, I control the government, control my children, control everything, then I won't get hurt again. I won't feel disappointed again. I won't feel that helpless again. I won't feel that out of control and scared again. And so it's a strategy of survival that we've learned to just function, but it ends up limiting us because in the effort to control everything, we feel so much stress and anxiety because we cannot control everything. Nothing.
Okay.
There's so much that's not in our control. And in the effort to control everything, not only do we feel more anxious because if things aren't in control, then and life is constantly changing, right? So it creates so much anxiety and stress. But we have to focus on what can we control? We can't control what is out here in the world, but we can at least control how we choose to see life, the meaning that we choose to give life, the way we choose to interpret situations, and then how we're going to act in the moment, our response. This is what we do have control over. What I do want to make clear, surrender is not laziness. I just need to make that clear. A lot of productive people think, oh, surrender, when you just sit on the couch, just don't have goals, don't have any intentions. What do I just sit on the couch and just wait for life to happen? No. See, the old paradigm, and I really want to clarify this point, the old paradigm way of manifesting is all about, I call it the ego paradigm of manifesting, which is get clear on what you want, know what you want, go for it, and make it happen. You got to know what you want. You got to know what you want, right? You like set your goals, be specific, get clear, which is great. It has a place. Know what you want, great. But many times, I think anyone can relate. Maybe you thought you achieved what you thought you wanted, and you got it. Only to realize that what you thought you wanted was not what you really wanted. Is this it? What you thought you wanted was not what you really wanted. It was just what you thought you wanted based on who you thought you were. So the ego-based model of creating life, yeah, it works. It can get you so far, but it's limited. What we're talking about when we speak about surrender is asking a whole different question. And it's the question based on alignment that you alluded to, which is not what do I want, but it's a question that's more about what is it that life is seeking to manifest through me? What is it that the universe is seeking to express? What is it that God is seeking? What is my soul seeking to communicate and express and experience in being willing to feel and align with the deeper impulse of your being? And sometimes when you truly surrender to the true calling that is in your heart, it won't always be what you want. Sometimes, or what you thought you wanted. When you truly surrender to the deepest calling in your heart, it might mean you work more than you've ever worked in your life because that's what you're called to do. If you don't have any fear in life, and if your goals don't produce some fear, likely your goals are just another version of you controlling. Likely, if you don't have some fear, your goals are too small. Because an authentic goal is going to evoke some fear because a true goal will be bigger than your current capacity to create. It should be bigger because there's no fear. I see there's a table behind you. If I said, okay, can you walk to the table behind you? You wouldn't feel afraid because there's no growth there, right? If I said climb to Mount Kilimanjaro, there might be a moment of, oh my God, can I do it? Yeah, that's growth. So a real authentic goal that arises from the depth of your soul, it might instigate some initial fear because it will force you to expand and grow beyond your current capacity. And it will force you to become who you've never become. It will force you to let go of what no longer serves you in order for you to manifest that goal. So the goal is evolutionary. And yeah, you should be a bit afraid. Right? The fact that you feel some fear is great, but that doesn't mean you don't do it. You have to acknowledge the fear and breathe into the fear and love yourself through the fear and just take a step. Just take a step. Just go in the direction. Take another step. Take another step. You don't have to have the whole process figured out. And so I think fear is a beautiful thing. Fear is not bad. What we have to learn is develop the courage to take the step even with the fear. Right? I think that's part of the art. Once you surrender, sometimes people want to sell this false idea. Oh, once you surrender, then everything is just cotton candy, roses and violins and rainbows. Yeah. It might be, and that's great. But what I would say is sometimes once you surrender and let go, okay, I let go of what's not working. I ask for the highest good. Cool. Okay, I'm surrendering. Now give me my rainbows. Oh yeah. But once you say that intention of I let go of everything that is not in alignment with my highest good. Please, I want the highest good. That is an expanded intention. The challenge is if you are currently living a life, an identity that is small, then everything that is small will also have to be released and let go so that you can expand into becoming the person that is capable of receiving the more. So sometimes when you surrender, what has to happen is the life that you've created is too small for what your soul is asking for. Maybe the relationship that you're in is too small for where your soul is seeking to go. So when you truly surrender, it might mean your relationship's got to go. It might mean whatever is too small for the next level of your soul has to also move out of your life. So sometimes what happens is things fall apart, things fall away, things break down. But you have to understand that the things that are falling away, the things that are falling apart, were the things that weren't truly in alignment with your highest good anyway. It can feel scary. It can be sad. But if you understand that, okay, when I invoke the highest good, which is the highest possibility and the highest prayer without any limits, that is the highest prayer that you can pray. I want the highest good. Are you sure you want the highest good? Then everything that is not in alignment with that has to be removed. So that might mean people leave. But I don't want to break up with this person. Yeah, but you've invoked the highest good. And if they're not in alignment with the highest good, likely they'll need to move out of your life. So sometimes there's an initial clearing that has to happen that is not bad. It's just that from a human ego level, we sometimes judge it as like, why is this person breaking up with me? Because they weren't in alignment with your highest good. Why is this thing not working out? Because it was not in alignment with your highest good. So if you can just understand that, allow yourself to grieve that. Allow yourself to acknowledge it. Allow yourself to grieve it. Allow yourself to let it go. And when you can make space, when you allow yourself to surrender so that you can make space, then now there's space in your life, in your field, and in your heart to receive what you say you want.
Wow, that is so powerful.
Yeah.
Do you have an example where you've seen this besides your own life of someone surrendering and then things crashing down, but then something even more beautiful coming to them?
Let's look at Oprah. Probably no one's heard of Oprah, right? I'm sure nobody's heard of Oprah. But look at Oprah, right? She had this desire and intention. She loved communication. So she said, I really want to be a news reporter. I want to read the news. This was her dream. This was her vision. This was her life's thing. So she finally got the gig reading the news. I think it was in Baltimore or somewhere. So she got the gig reading the news every night. This was her life's dream. She couldn't imagine anything more. She reached the pinnacle. But because she had maybe, let's say, too much compassion, she would cry while reading the news because some of the news isn't always happy. So she would cry reading the news. And I think one day her boss said, Oprah, this is not going to work. This is not, you can't be crying reading the news. So they basically they fired her and gave her a demotion, but they kind of did it gently and moved her. They put her on a cable station to do a cable show in the early 80s, I think it was. It was a way of not firing her, but just moving her out of that, which is being fired. And she was devastated because she was living the dream. And now she's doing this cheap show in a network with no audience. But it was basically the beginning of a talk show in one market. And so even though she got demoted, she started doing this talk show. And because her compassion, her ability to relate, she was able to thrive. All of a sudden, the ratings went up. The ratings exploded. They started adding more cities and more markets. And before you know it, she was beating Donahue. And before you know it, the rest is history. She became over. Yeah. So we could say, was it bad that she was fired? Or was it good that she was fired?
And it's the same story because I just watched the documentary on Martha Stewart.
Yeah.
It's on Netflix. And she had everything, billion-dollar business on the stock exchange. And then it all crumbled and she went to jail. But it was in jail where she started giving back to the women there in jail, and she found her humility, her soul.
Yes,
And
yes.
then she was on that show with Snoop Dogg, and she partnered with Snoop Dogg, and she just found her truth. And that's the other thing I wanted to ask you about. So she found her truth, her true voice. And then she met a whole new market of young people, and her whole life today has changed.
Okay, yeah. Many times when things fall apart, fall down, break down, we think it's the worst thing because from the lens of the ego, it seems like the worst thing. But often from the perspective of the soul, it's the best thing. Things breaking down are really the universe's way of clearing out what is not in alignment. And what is not in alignment has to be cleared out so that the highest good of your life can manifest, because the highest good is bigger than your current life. The next level of your life requires the next level of you. And the next level of you requires that you let go and release everything that is no longer in alignment with your soul's highest intention. But often as human beings, because out of fear, the ego, out of fear, well intended, we tend to hold on to what no longer works. We tend to hold on to who we were. We tend to hold on to what we know. We tend to hold on to the life we have. We tend to hold on to relationships that feel comfortable, even though we know that none of this is really aligned. And it's the holding on that actually keeps us stuck and blocks our blessing. And so part of the freedom is the willingness to say, okay, I let go, and the willingness to trust. So what I would say is when you sometimes don't get what you thought you wanted, it's not bad. It's a blessing. It is even sometimes the grace of the universe, a blessing of the divine that from your ego's perspective, you currently can't see right now. It's like we say, no, I want that peanut, right? I want that peanut. I want my peanut. I want a peanut, and I've been dreaming of a peanut, and I want a peanut, and damn it, I'm going to manifest this peanut. And we hold on to the peanut, but we don't realize that, like, God is trying to give you a peanut farm. God is trying to give you a peanut factory, but we're like, no, I'm going to have my peanut. And so we're not even open to the more because we're so attached to and fixated to what we think we want. And so what I would say is it's okay to have a goal. Don't get me wrong. Right? You can have a goal, but make sure the goal is in alignment with your deeper soul's intention. And when you can ask the question, what is it that life is seeking to express through me, and catch that vision that is bigger than what you can currently see. And many times when your soul's inspiration will arise, not from your mind or your logic or your ego, because anything you create from the ego will be based on the past. But when your goals can be inspired from your soul, is not limited to the past. Your soul is infinite. Your soul is your soul. So there's no limitations to the soul. So when the true goal arises from the depth of your soul, let's call it soul setting, right? When it arises from the depth of your soul, it's not limited to who you were, what you know, name, form, body, or ego. So often the goal or the inspiration that you get may not make sense to your logic or your mind because it's bigger than that. It's bigger than that, right? And so when your goals don't manifest, it's not bad. It's just something better is seeking to be created.
And the other thing is, it's never too late and we're never too old.
Yes. Yeah, for sure. Let me just tag on to that. Look, when sometimes people think, oh, I'm 67 years old, I'm 75 years old. When is it going to happen for me? Here's what I'll say. If your goals haven't manifested yet, there's let's say 3 main reasons why. Number 1, the goal that you think you want or you've been trying to manifest is not authentic. It's not a goal that is truly authentically in alignment with your soul. Does that make sense? It's not a goal that is, maybe you're being a doctor because your parents wanted you to. Maybe, you're marrying that guy because your parents thought he looked good on paper, not because it was truly authentic for you. So often goals don't manifest because it's not the authentic alignment for your soul. And so we try to often force something to be something that it's not. And then we wonder, like, why is it blocked? Because it's not yours. You're trying to make something happen that isn't true. So if it's not manifesting and you've tried, Step back. Surrender is not force. Learn to understand, when am I forcing something? Because forcing has an energy of tightness, contraction, stress, anxiety. Oh, they're trying to force. Okay, now then relax. Step back and go, is there something more aligned? Is there something more authentic that I'm actually needing to connect with? And see if you can meditate and connect to the deeper, authentic vision and alignment. Number two, second reason why things don't manifest is sometimes timing. So you said, is it too late? It's never too late. Some things are timing. Like you could, like a woman that's pregnant, 5 weeks pregnant, 10 weeks pregnant. She's like, I want to meet my baby now. It doesn't happen that way. It's going to be about 40 weeks, 38, 40, 39, 41, but it's going to be about 40 weeks to come full term. So everything has a timing, everything has a season, everything has a rhythm. There is summer, there is fall, there is winter, there is spring. So sometimes people have to realize we have to learn how to get in sync and harmony with our bodies, but in harmony with the rhythm of life, but also in harmony with the season that we're in, right? Because there's different seasons. And so it's possible that it's just not time yet based on the consciousness of the culture. Maybe you want a soulmate and you want him now, but he's not ready.
That's what I was going to say. How often does that happen?
Yeah, and you meet
That
someone.
it happens later because that person had to go through their path to even get lined to meet you.
I met my wife 4 years ago, and I thank God I met her 4 years ago and not 15 years ago, because I wouldn't have been ready. I wouldn't have, if I was a great guy, I was amazing, but just I wasn't ready for the sort of to surrender into the depth of relationship and marriage and union that I am now. And so it's different. Everything has a timing. When I look back, I think we can all relate to this. If you look back at all the relationships that didn't work out, that you wanted to work out, you're like, you met someone in your 20s, 20 something, like, this is my person, we're going to get married. I can't imagine life without this person. And you broke up. And you felt, I'm never going to find love again in my whole life. I'm cursed. But now, 2025, you look back and go, thank God that didn't work out. So some things are timing, and sometimes things not working out is just grace. It's grace. Mm-hmm. And so we have alignment, we have timing. The third reason is a deep reason. I would say it is, to me, we are all souls. And we are evolving in this human experience. And as souls, we incarnate into this human experience in order to learn, in order to grow, in order to evolve. Life for me is metaphorically like a school. It's like a university. And everyone is your teacher. Everything is your lesson. School is always in session. And I think that one of the reasons we don't manifest and one of the reasons that we stay stuck is you have not learned the lesson that your soul needs to learn where you are with who you're with yet. And often we don't see it, we don't realize it, so we push harder and we force more. But until you learn the lesson that you need to learn where you are, you stay stuck where you are. And all lessons are pretty much repeated until you learn them. And when you truly learn, so if you're not manifesting the love, the relationship, whatever it is, step back and ask yourself, if I say I want it, but I haven't manifested it, and I've tried and I've tried and I've tried, and it's still not happening, or I keep attracting the same person in relationship over again, and I keep attracting the same dynamic, I keep attracting the same situation, I keep attracting the same boss, I keep attracting the same what have you, then ask yourself these questions. Number one, what is the lesson that my soul is seeking to learn through this experience? What is the lesson that I've been unwilling to learn? What is the lesson that I've been resisting learning? What is it that I need to see about myself in this situation? What is it I don't want to see about myself in this situation? Because when you can learn the lesson for why you attracted that situation, person, dynamic, that is the key that unlocks the lock to the next level of your life. And often that's one of the things that keeps us stuck, and we drag on, and all of a sudden we're 60 years old, I'm still single. Yeah, because often you haven't learned certain lessons yet. And so when you learn the lesson that you need to learn, heal what you need to heal, it unlocks the lock to the next level of your life. So there's three elements of alignment, timing, and soul lessons that when we combine these together, it can shift things. And so, yeah, some people are meant to, in a relationship example, some people are meant to, and it's their destiny to meet someone at 20 and be on a path and stay together. Some people later in life, everyone has a different destiny. Everyone has a different classroom. Everyone has a different karma. Everyone has a different soul journey. And I think it's important that we surrender to and learn how to trust our journey and do the inner work so that we can evolve and accelerate our life path.
Oh, this has been so content rich. And I know everyone who is watching or listening has picked up so many tips. We want more. So how can people get more of you? I know you have the 2 books.
Yes.
But you also have some really wonderful courses that are free or classes. Can you tell us what would be the best place for someone to come?
A couple of things. I would say, yeah, get the books, You Are the One, The Magic of Surrender, both available on Amazon. I just created at the beginning of the year a 8-module course, and I was guided to gift it to the world for free. And so thousands of people in the last few months have gone through this course. It's pretty simple, but life-changing. It's a course on gratitude. It's about how to harness the power of gratitude to really accelerate your life, dreams, visions, goals, desires. It's called the 8 Levels of Gratitude. You can download it for free. Eight videos, 8 modules. Go to www.8levelsofgratitude.com. That's the number 8, levelsofgratitude.com. I also just released a new masterclass. We're giving it to the world again for free. You can go to www.manifestationmasterclassonline.com. That's manifestationmasterclassonline.com. I also do seminars and intensive retreats around the world. I'm announcing some new ones, depending on when people listen to this, in a few months. So you can go to my website, www.kuteblackson.com, Kute, kuteblackson.com. Also, say hi on Instagram, Kute Blackson.
And that's always fun because then they can catch you just like they are now with you speaking and your beautiful face. So thank you so much for being here. I just am thrilled. I've been looking forward to this, and you definitely delivered a positive message for everyone. Okay, everyone. Thank you so much for being here today. Be sure to like and subscribe and share. And if you want to get on our list so you know who's coming up and get access to them and great follow-up after the shows, go to joinsmartwomen.com. Until our next show, live with more purpose, passion, and prosperity.